So if you guys were having a dream dinner party and you can invite three famous people, other famous people that are alive, who are you bringing to your party?
God, well, Gretz for sure. God, I don't know. So many.
I'd invite Warren Buffett.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky, Warren Buffett. Who would be the third? Well,
for example, I go with like a music guy. I go with Tupac.
Yeah, I was thinking of a music guy.
Yeah, and then I go with a comedian, Seth Rogen, being from Vancouver. He's one of my dream interviews. I'd love to sit down with that guy. And then some eye candy. If you guys are bringing Wayne, I'm bringing Paul. I'm bringing Paulina.
That's funny.
Okay. Well, if you think of any more, throw them out.
Yeah.
The next question is both talking about what's it like to be your first trade. Obviously, Geoff, you went from Boston to the Oilers, and Russ, you went from Toronto to Montreal. What goes through your mind when you're first traded?
Well, I think my first trade, it was kind of one of those years where I wasn't expecting to get traded. Cam Neely and I were roommates. I was playing in a line with Kenny Linsman and Cam Neely, and Cam and I were leading scorers on Boston, both having our best years. And he and I were at a movie, got back to my room, and there was like 6 guys outside the room. What the heck's going on? They go, "Oh, have you talked to the coach?" And I said, "No." He goes, "Oh, well, you better call the coach." So I called the coach. It was Terry O'Reilly at the time. And he said, "Oh, yeah, you were traded to Edmonton." So I was pretty upset because we were, it's the first year I was really having a great year. And, didn't really think that I was ever going to be traded to any team, let alone Edmonton. But when I got to Edmonton, those guys in that room welcomed me like you wouldn't believe. I got to play with Wayne Gretzky and Jari Kurri right away. And it was just an amazing experience. Everything worked out fantastic. We won the cup that year. So, it was just one of those things that worked out great. But you're never ready to be traded, really, unless things aren't going well. Then you want to be traded. So it was just an interesting time.
Obviously the 1988 Stanley Cup run you went on. What was it like beating Boston?
Yeah, that was great. I mean, we beat them 5 straight. Yeah. They turned the power off at the end of the second period in Boston, so we had to play the 5th game back in Edmonton. But yeah, it was so good to beat them. I mean, obviously, when you get traded from a team, you want to prove to them that they shouldn't have traded you. So being on that team, that playoff run, we only lost 2 games the whole playoff, and it was an amazing group of guys to play with.
Russ, you had a great cup run as well. Didn't get the chance to hoist it as far as my stats. 89 cup run. Can you tell us about that one when you played the Flames?
I got traded that year, and Geoff had been traded once, and then he had moved to, well, I guess he got traded twice by the time I got traded. And he was a big help. He said, "Look, you're going to a new team. You're going to have a fresh start. It's going to be good." So that made me feel better. That I think initially when you first get traded, you're a little embarrassed, like every player wants to stay on the team they first play with and finish their career. And it rarely ever happens. I mean, barely ever. And I got there, and the exact same thing happened to me that happened to Geoff, that the team was so welcoming and we were so good that it was just so much fun. Every time you went to the rink, you thought you were going to win a game. I think the first 20 games I was there, we might have lost a game and tied 1 or 2, but we went to the finals, and I thought it was destiny because Geoff had won the year before in '88, and I thought here I'm going to win, Courtnall back-to-back cups, and we were up 2-1, and then we lost 4-2. But I'll tell your audience the story that most people have never heard. Pat Burns was a first-year coach, and he was worried about our team having fun. He was wanting us, he had a thumb on us all the time, but it was pretty tough when you're that good a team. So in the playoffs, he thought it was important to fly a lot. After the second game, we flew from Calgary on a red-eye to Montreal. After game 4, red-eye back to Calgary. After game 5, red-eye back. So we had 3 red-eyes in 1 week. Calgary stayed in every city they flew the next day. So they were well rested, and we weren't. We were exhausted, and we were both. I'd say we both had older players on our teams, and we just ran out of gas. And they were as fresh as a daisy. They played great. I mean, they deserved to win. But I look back on that, and I guess after Pat Burns won a cup in Jersey, he came out and said he thought he knew he made a mistake by doing that, and he wasn't sure he was ever going to win again or have a chance to win. And after he won, he told the story. Somebody told me he told that story that he made a huge mistake. But can you imagine flying 3 red eyes in 1 week and then trying to play? We were just dead. I mean, your sleep was all screwed up. It's so hard to sleep after a game. You're so fired up, and you drank coffee, and you sleep in the afternoon getting ready for the game at 7:30, 8 o'clock, whatever it was. And then you try to go to sleep. And if you're on an airplane, forget about it. I mean, it was brutal. Anyway, so that was one factor in the series that really hurt us. But both teams were great. They won the President's Trophy. We were second that year. Both teams were in the finals. And too bad Stan Smeal didn't bury that one when he had the breakaway in the first round against Calgary, because it would have been our cup.
Geoff, why did you want to get traded out or request a trade out of Washington?
Well, I mean, I think that that was just an unfortunate time, and I think that after stuff that happened the year before, I just didn't want to go back. And I think that getting a chance to, there was a bunch of reasons too as well, contract stuff. I had signed with the Rangers, and then Edmonton were able to match, and they traded me to Washington. I was there for 2 years. I had 2 great years. That was a great team. And then, some unfortunate stuff happened off the ice. And so just wasn't, it was just
time to
go somewhere else.
Okay.
You're tuning into I Only Touch Greatness podcast, Vancouver's best show with Ryan Hayes.
Often imitated but never duplicated, I Only Touch Greatness podcast with Ryan Hayes. Looking for the most beers on tap, great steaks, great staff? Head over to the John B.
The John B. Pub, the best bar in town. Say Hayes sent you.
I will forever be from the street to the V, where I learn to stand tall on my own 2 feet. Vancouver, BC is a part of me. I'm from Van City, grew up in Vancouver. Way back when we was taking taxis, not Ubers. We was being young, living life to the fullest. Doing dumb things, thinking we was the coolest. Doing us,